So for a long time now, a friend of mine, Leela, who's also a patron of mine, has been asking me to review the film Gattaca or watch it at all. I've been doing everyone's patron request lately, and yeah, I didn't even have to ask her what movie she wanted me to do because I knew it would be this one. And when I said I was watching it finally, she did post that Titanic gif that everyone uses now. It's been 84 years. It hasn't been that long, but this is a favorite of hers, and having now seen it, going in completely blind, not knowing a damn thing about it, I completely understand why this would be someone's, top tier level film. It's a very beautiful movie, and it's science fiction, but a very realistic science fiction. This is like thoughtful science fiction and grounded science fiction. We're not far off from heading in the direction that this movie is now. And I think when people hear sci-fi, they think of like Star Trek. They think of, more fantasy style, even though Star Trek is a little, isn't technically fantasy, that's more like strict sci-fi. I do think that a lot of people get in their heads about what science fiction is, and they blow it way out of proportion, and there is more smaller scale sci-fi like this that keeps things very, very grounded, and this is absolutely one of them. So this has a stellar cast starring Ethan Hawke, Uma Thurman, Jude Law, Alan Arkin, even Ernest Borgnine's in this. A ton of familiar faces that you'll see. Oh, there's Xander Berkeley. I love seeing him and stuff. So what this story is about is, and obviously I'm going to be talking spoilers here, but for someone who has not seen it and just kind of wants a yay or a nay, it's on Amazon Prime, and if you're into more thought-provoking sci-fi, it's a little slower. It's almost like a thriller though, so it's not super slow or anything. But so anyway, what it's about is that there is this, and this is revealed pretty quick into the film, so I don't really feel like this is a spoiler. Ethan Hawke plays a character named Jerome, or is his name Jerome? Actually, it isn't. He lives in a world, in Earth in the near future, where pretty much everybody can have their babies tailor designed to the way they want them to be. And the world really kind of runs off of whether or not you're part of the elite, or if you're a valid or if you're an invalid. There's people called like godchildren, like Ethan Hawke's character, whose parents left their kid's birth up to just chance, and they just had sex the old-fashioned way, and they let the baby grow inside of them, and they had a baby and just were like, we're at God's mercy, essentially, like male pattern baldness and heart defects and all this stuff. And the way that a lot of people have babies, I don't know if this is a upper class thing. I'm sure it is. I don't feel like they get too into like what the middle class, lower class, like that kind of stuff isn't really explored, because this film, even though the plot and the story within seems large scaled, like it's the entire world and even beyond, because they're shooting into space a whole ton, and that's kind of one of the focal points of the film. The film feels very contained. It feels very small, and it's much more intimate than something like a large-scale sci-fi film. So yeah, the story really just kind of focuses very heavily on one man's journey through this world and his determination, his fucking sheer will to overcome the odds of being born possibly with a defect or something, and him immediately being kind of ousted from any kind of anything he wants. What he wants to do is he wants to go to space. He wants to land on Titan, one of the moons of Jupiter, and of course he's not allowed to because he is an invalid. And so he has to take on a new persona. Essentially, it's like a back alley black market kind of thing where he takes over the identity of somebody who was born a valid, and that's played by Jude Law. And Jude Law, he was the perfect baby, the perfect human, and he broke his back. And so he goes into this place where everything is scrutinized, every single little hair, everything. And he has to come up with all of these ways to get around their systems, to be able to go in there and pass their fingerprint blood analysis every day to get through the door, and hair samples and blood samples and urine samples and whatever. The lengths that this guy goes to just to get into this place, just to try to fulfill his dream. We think that the application process at certain places we go to, or the schooling that's required in order to do things, is tough. The commitment this guy has, none of us even could comprehend this level of, absolute dedication. He is relentless. The lengths he goes to fulfill his dream. But that's that's what's so great about this movie for me. It's a very beautiful movie. It has very beautiful people in it. Uma Thurman, oh my God, she's gorgeous back then. And she's still a pretty lady now, but this was like, Uma at her highest level of beauty for me. But what is so great about this movie is it shows that with rejection comes a fucking hunger and a desire greater than anybody who's been accepted so easily into stuff. And it kind of harkens back to something like, I've talked about in the past, and I've thought about, and I'm very adamant on this whole this whole new wave of parenting where you got participation trophies and this and that. I'm all about encouraging our children, absolutely. But there is a point where they're gonna need to have some tough love, and they're gonna need to have some rejection, and they're gonna have to earn shit. And this film plays that so well. It takes the sci-fi angle and it just kind of elevates it. And it's not like a story we don't know right now in our world. It's not like this film, because it's in an advanced race society, doesn't apply to what is going on right now. It is. It's that fucking natural, or well, not natural. I shouldn't say natural. I should say that instinctual desire to succeed that's in us, and some of us just have more of it than others, and usually because they come from a place where things weren't given to them, and they have to earn those things through dedication and hard work. And there's people who are just kind of handed shit, and they don't want anything to do with it, because we want what we can't have. And when someone rejects us and tells us no, then all of a sudden we want that thing more than ever. But if someone's like, here's your path, which is equally as bad if someone's just like, this is the way you're going to live, and this is your destiny, and this is your future, without even consulting with you. But that's a totally different thing altogether. But what I'm saying is that rejection can be good for you. And what this movie shows is, man, there are people out there that, despite all odds, they are going to get what they want. And so, a guy gets murdered, and in the building, and of course the police come in and they're investigating, and every single little fiber, every single hair, everything is collected, and one of his real hairs off of his head gets collected, and it's shown that there's an invalid that does not work there, has no previous record of working there anytime recently. Shows up, and of course they're like, who the fuck is this? He must be the murderer. And Alan Arkin's character is convinced that he's working there, that he's somehow slipped through the system. And I love how the characters in this are just like, no way an average person who was born the old way could possibly be smart enough to trick us elite. We're so smart, we're so perfect, whatnot. Just the absolute arrogance of the upper class in this show. Oh, it makes you just angry at times. But it does beg the question, like, if you had the option, let's say, you wanted to have a kid, it's like 115 fucking degrees outside, in case you're wondering why I'm sweating. I'm in a garage with no air conditioning. But, if you were going to have a kid and a doctor sat down and was like, look, this is what's in your lineage. These are all the things that's going to happen to your son. You could have, or your daughter. They could have heart conditions. They could have male pattern baldness. They could have, which male pattern baldness isn't a deformity or something that's going to kill you. So that's not really a huge thing. But it's not something we want either. It's not like somebody's like, yes, I'm going bald. Awesome. Like, obviously, I don't think anyone's ever thought that. But all of these things that we've kind of deemed as defects in our genes, if they could go in and correct all those things, give us the best hearts and give us the best brains and give us the best. It's hard to say, like, oh, I wouldn't want that. I just want it. I'm sure there's people out there who'd be like, no, fuck that. I don't want anything to do with science. But if you really think about it, like your child, if you have a child, you know what I'm talking about. Thinking of them possibly growing up and having some kind of, seizuring problem or whatever is terrifying. And for them to be able to do it right there and then, to make your kid perfect, that's a hard thing to say no to, honestly. I get it 100%. So yeah, I mean, this kid grows up in this world, and the relationship that he forms with Jude Law, the real Jerome, the relationship that he creates with Uma's character, was just so well done. I think the writing of this movie, above all else, is where this film succeeds. And I like the style too. As I said, it's very intimate. It doesn't feel large-scaled at all. In fact, it almost feels independent. It does not feel big-budgeted, despite all the recognizable faces. It feels more independent at times. But I really liked the focus of it. I was surprised to hear 2 fucks in a PG-13 movie. Maybe, I guess that's allowed. I was trying to look it up last night, but everywhere I look says 1. I don't know how the hell they got away with 2, but it's still PG-13. I thought it was odd that the doctor, Xander's character here, was giving him compliments on his dick. That's an odd thing to say, although I guess around a bunch of elite people and being like, look, I see all the best dicks in the world and you got the best one. And he lets him go at the end. I'm like, does he got a thing for him? I don't know. It doesn't matter. But I don't know. Am I missing something here? How did he give him his piss when he was looking directly at and complimenting his dick? Did I miss that? I know he was taking piss and he had it on his leg and he was going to put it into a cup. Did he palm it? But he would have saw that it was coming out of the head of his dick. He was looking right at his dick. So I don't get that scene. I'm kind of confused on that. And it's funny because in this movie, they don't even know if there's anything wrong with him. They're just like, you have a high probability of a heart condition. That's it. You're invalid. We're not even going to take, even if it's a percent, he's 99, don't get me wrong, he's a high percentage, and he had 30 years of life, and he said that he was already well past what he should be able to do, but we don't even really know. The only real indication we get that his heart may not be all that great, but anybody who ran for 20 fucking straight minutes like that, his heart would be beating pretty quick. But yeah, he has the monitor and it shuts off after his 20-minute recording, and it's speeding. But it doesn't sound like there's something wrong with it. But I mean, I guess anyone who's in the astronaut, the astronomy program, who wants to be an astronaut, they probably watch this movie and they're like, this isn't far off of what it's really like, because in order to be an astronaut, man, you really go through some seriously rigorous testing of your mind and your body and everything. It all has to be tip top. So it's not hugely far off of what it is. But man, the how well he performs, it's impressive. He never misses a single keystroke, and he's like genius level, and he pushes his body. I mean, he still has to do all of these things and fit in with these guys while hiding his secret long enough to where he can get into space, and then it's too fucking late. But to live like this just to get what you want, and to have the leg surgery, the leg lengthening surgery that he goes through, which is a real thing that they actually do over in like Japan and whatnot. Holy shit, man. They can grow your legs up to like 6 inches. I should do that. My God, even though I'm tall, my legs are short, super short. I'm 6'3", but I have legs the same length as the mother of my children, who is 5'3". So my torso is super long, and I have like these short legs for my body. It's funny. So 6 inches to my legs, and I'd probably be proportionately correct. And I did. I really enjoyed the relationship between Uma, and I thought that the whole thing where like girls were taking the specimens to this, this place where they test it, and they're like, oh, this guy's got these amazing genetic markers and whatnot. Like, he's a catch, go for it. Like, marry him or fucking reproduce with him or whatever the hell they were doing there when that girl like kisses her thing and brings it in. She's like, oh, you got a catch there. Like, go for him. That was funny. And as I said, like if we got more into genetics like that, I would not be surprised to see the world go in this direction. Like, it would start very slowly, but as it progressed, after a long time, people, it'd be custom tailored gene, meddling for sure. I don't designer genes and shit. Like, oh man, I got the genes of this guy and blah blah. Absolutely. I mean, this happens on a smaller scale to these days, but they're definitely going in this direction. And I wrote down a bunch of stuff here, but I'm just kind of speaking more off of my feelings toward this movie, because I feel like that is the most important thing for me. Was I felt a lot of different thoughts and a lot of different emotions. I really enjoyed the world set up here, and it felt very realistic to what was all happening around them. Like, I felt like everything stayed true to the world that was created for the film. Like, nothing ever felt over the top. Like, the lengths he went to, while insane, all felt very realistic. I felt like it was so well conceived, so well thought out on how to trick the systems. Because when they were like, oh, we're going to have to take a blood test. Oh, we're going to have to do this. I was like, how the fuck is he going to get out of this? And it's not some huge elaborate thing where the guy has to give a narration where okay, around here at 5 p.m. we'll be meeting at this corridor. Then I will meet this person at 5:03. They will slip me a container. Then, and then they have the people coming in and they show the whole thing. No, it's nothing like that. It's simplistic but smart, and it works within the world that they're in. And I love that stuff. That is great writing. That is smart stuff. And I just can't fucking praise it enough. So, negatives, I really don't think I have any. I mean, the movie is, for what it is, it's nearly perfect. It's a beautiful film. I love the relationship between him and Uma, where it goes, because she's a product of her environment. She's a product of her society. And but she's also kind of an outsider, because she also has a heart condition that doesn't allow her to be where she wants to be at. So she can sympathize, and she can kind of break away from the norm, and she's able to love this man for what he is. And they even give each other those moments. And this is a little cheesy when it's done the second time, when Uma does it, like, oh, the wind must have caught it. Like, the line's coming, and it's like almost an eye roll. But because it's so sincere, and because it's such a beautiful moment between them two, and because the implications of what all that means for them, and the fact that she's kind of letting all the societal pressures and whatnot go that she's been raised in, so that they can just be in love, and that they can just not worry about checking on their genetics to see if they're compatible with one another, if he's, at the highest echelons to be able to mate with or whatever. Like when they drop all of that and they just become humans again, it's beautiful. And then Jude's freaking death. Oh, that's so sad. So sad. Like no matter what, his only purpose that he has left. He was raised as this person who's perfect, and he doesn't want it. We find out that he tried to kill himself, and that's why he's drinking. He's still trying to do this, but then he gets a purpose, trying to help this guy get to where he was at. And once he's gone, he has nothing more to live for, and he burns himself to death. And then you've got, the brother, which I didn't see coming at all. It's like, oh shit, that's his brother, and they have their moment, and he's like, you shouldn't be here, and he proves to him that he should be here. And he has this amazing line when they go out to have that competition in the water again of playing chicken as far out as they can swim, and he's like, you know how I won, you know how I do this, because I never left, what is the line, like, I never left anything for the swim back. I was only out here to beat you. Like, I came out here and I gave it my all. Like, you're sitting here thinking about going out and coming back. And one of the best things that you can learn, obviously this is stupid, because if you go out there and you give everything till the point you can't swim anymore, you're probably going to die, which is exactly how people drown most of the time. Their body seizes up, their muscles cramp, and they literally can't swim anymore, and they just sink. How horrible is that? But yeah, I mean, one of the things you learn in like self-help stuff that I've listened to a damn good amount of is like the best way to succeed, is if you want to take the island, burn the boats. Give yourself no other option. You're going to succeed if there's no other out. You go there and you say, fuck it. You burn everything else and you go in. And that's what he does when he raises his brother. Like, I am going to win. I will fucking die to prove it. And that is this character in essence. Like, he gives it his all because he has to. The other guys got it from nothing. He had to earn it. And there's just something so much more powerful about somebody who had to earn it. And this movie's all about that. And so, yes, Layla, you are correct. This movie is gorgeous. It is wonderful. It is thought-provoking. It is so well written. I'm so glad that you pushed so long for me to watch this. And no, I'm not just kissing her ass because she's a young, beautiful girl and all that. Although now I just feel like I slipped that in to say that. But no, seriously, it is a beautiful movie, and I'm glad that I watched it. They have a 12-fingered pianist here. I guess they can adjust how many fingers you have, so they can really kind of tailor your kid to do anything. I wonder what else they could do. Interesting that he has the best looking dick the doctor's ever seen. So I guess the homegrown way is the best. Farmer dick. Farmer dick. I'm gonna put that on a shirt. Anyways, why doesn't Jude Law have a handicapped house? Really? Why didn't the detectives look at the picture that's on the fucking thing? I know some Tony Shalhoub, whatever. Characters like, whoever even looks at a picture anymore, but you would think detectives would be like, okay, I'm looking for that face. So there's a bunch of people here we can pretty much instantly eliminate from just looking at the fucking picture. I had some other questions, but yeah, it was funny to me when they're in this house. Like, Jude Law's Jerome's character lives in this house all the time. He's in a wheelchair, and this place, he can't get upstairs, like, unless someone carries him up there. Like, it's a pretty freaking nice house. Like, they couldn't find one with like a handicap ramp. I guess in the world they live in, no one's handicapped, right? So that's probably not even a thing anymore. They're like, handicapped, fucking loser. Like, we don't we don't get handicapped. We're perfect. But I just was like, really? They don't have a ramp for him to get up? I had another one, something. I never went through my notes during this entire damn thing. I don't even know why I wrote anything down if I wasn't going to use them. Shit. Okay, I guess. Yeah. I don't know. I don't know what it was, but all right. Well, thank you guys. Anyway, I will move on. I have a bunch of other Patreon requests to do. If you want to get me to review something, you can go on over to patreon.com and check out my Patreon. We have all sorts of different tier levels from $1 to $50, so you can donate whatever the hell you want, or don't donate at all. It doesn't matter. It does help the channel though. So let me know. Adios.